and tough at the same time, that's a paradox. People think, how can he be nice and tough at the same time? Right? If I say Jonathan Masalan is tall and short somehow, it doesn't make sense. It's a paradox. The cross is a paradox in that sense. How? Can we give some examples? Aywa Myron. I was good, very good. I was actually coming to that. So we see that it's life and death. It was a curse that turned into blessing. It was a shame that turned into glory. It was weakness when Christ was crucified on it. Remember, there's a verse that says, "Cursed is he who hangs on a cross." So it was weakness turned into power. It was defeat to Satan. He thought, okay, I defeated Christ on the cross. But really, it was the salvation. It became salvation for us. Right? What else? Is it the tribulation for us? يعني صح ان احنا نقول ان الصليب اللي احنا بنشيله ده, can we say we're carrying our cross, which is a tribulation? Anyone? Can we say that? Yes or no? لا يعني I asked the video games question, لقيت كله بيتنطط. I came to this, محدش بيرد. You guys, for the sake of time. Yes, it's our tribulation. We say we carry our cross, and at the same time, it's the salvation and the victory that gives us, it's the victory that we get in the end. It's the way out of the tribulation. It's the comfort. It's the pain and the comfort. So that's what I mean by paradox. I go back and say, Myron said we see it in the Old Testament. Very quickly, again for the sake of time, we see it all over the place. We see it with Adam. Since the very beginning. How do we see it with Adam? When he sinned, there was sacrifices that had to be made, right? There was an altar that Abel and Cain offered on, which was a symbol of what? Who was the ultimate sacrifice? Who was the ultimate sacrifice? Jesus. So it's a symbol of, what's it? The altar, what is it a symbol of? You guys, we have a very long, كده مش هنخلص. Work with me for your sake. It's a symbol of the cross. The animal skins they wore, we say God gave them animal skins instead of the leaves. In Greek, that word is kafara. It was cover. Again, a symbol of sacrifice. With Noah on the ark, do we see how the ark can be a symbol of the cross? It takes all people unto itself that were willing to be saved. It took two of every animal, the clean and unclean, which are the Gentiles and the Jews, symbols of the Gentiles and Jews. It took all people of every gender and of every age, of every kind. Whoever was willing to be saved went into the ark and went through the tribulation, the waves, the flood, which is, again, it came as a result of the people's sin. So the consequence of sin was overcome by the vessel, which was the ark, a symbol of the cross. Abraham with Isaac, as Myron said. We see Abraham giving Isaac what to carry? The wood, which he was going to be murdered on. Right? A symbol of the cross. He says, we'll go up and come back to you. So they're on the mountain, like Golgotha, they're going up to sacrifice Isaac. We see with Jacob, when it says he leaned on his staff. You guys know that scene where he blesses Ephraim and Manasseh, Joseph's children. It says he leaned in the shape of a cross. Again, blessed the Gentiles before the Jews, who were the chosen people. We see it with Moses. How do we see it with Moses? Remember the bronze serpent? They looked unto him and were healed. Remember? What about the staff that he hit the sea with? But didn't that give them salvation? They were able to make it through the sea. Right? So we see it with the sea. We see it with the rock that brought forth water. We see it with the bronze serpent that was a symbol of the cross. Some people draw in icons as we have it here, but I don't want you guys to, everybody, they draw as a pole coming down with the serpent around it. How is the serpent going to stay on a pole that's coming straight down? Realistically, most likely it had a bar at the top. What does that look like? What does that look like? ارتحت خلاص. What does that look like over here? Something like this, right? A cross. Right? What about Moses? When he puts up his arms, it says when he put up his arms like this, the Amalekites were defeated. The Israelites conquered the Amalekites. But when he put them down, what happened? Getting defeated. Good. We see it with David. How do we see it with David? Thronos. Your throne, O God, is an everlasting throne. We see it in another psalm. The Lord has reigned on the tree, which is the cross. Right? So what Elijah and Elisha, you guys remember Elijah and he's spreading himself, laying down on the dead son of the widow to heal him? You guys remember that? What is that a symbol of? A cross. What happened to the... I don't know how to show. He's laying on him. Here's the boy, the dead boy. Here's Elijah, laying on him like this. It's a cross. What happened to the boy? Of course, he was raised. He raised from the dead. Again, a symbol of the life-giving cross. So we see it alluded to in the Old Testament all over the place. And these are just the major characters that we all know, and putting aside the minor prophets. We see it alluded to, we see the power of it in different ways. It's life-giving, it's delivering the children of Israel, it gives blessing, Jacob, it's a sacrifice, Isaac and Adam. Right? We see all kinds of traits attributed to it. We also see it, you guys, 35 times in the New Testament. So it's not just that Christ was crucified and we're done with the cross. St. Paul, St. James in Revelation, St. John, they all refer to it a total of 35 times. So until that point, how come we don't... When did the cross come about as a tangible item? The cross that we have on the altar, the cross that we should be using in our prayers, the cross we wear, it was a torture device, right? So people didn't really think, okay, let me put it on my chest, let me hold it in my hand. It was, think of مثلا the Himbazine. You guys know the Himbazine that the martyrs would be tortured on, the wheel with the spikes, right? Think of a sword, think of a gun. It was literally a torture device that was terrifying. It was a very difficult death. So that being said, no one wants to put a torture device in their hand or on their chest. Yet we see that they knew the value of it and they started using it in liturgy since the time of Justin Martyr. A saint that, if you guys remember from competition, remember the name Justin Martyr, John remembers. Some of you guys will remember. In the 2nd century, he wrote to one of the emperors, telling him in detail, this is what the Christians do. This is how they celebrate liturgy. Guess what he mentions? From the 2nd century isn't, I know it's confusing, it's not like 200 AD. It's 100 close to the mid or late 100 AD. Very early on in the church, he says to the emperor, look how far back it goes. He says, we see a deacon holding a cross and a candle next to the priest administering the blood. Do you guys know how lucky we are and how blessed we are to have a tradition that goes back that far? The 2nd century, 100 AD. Not after 100 AD. But again, something as simple as the movement of the deacon holding the cross and the candle with the lefefa during Abuna giving communion was there. So we see it being used as a tangible item. We see the Christians wearing it on their necks at the time of the Muslim persecution, when we had the issue of them having us wear the very heavy crosses made of stone or metal. Remember, you guys from history, from competition? And we called this the blue bone because it would bruise the neck. It would bruise the neck. And we decided to still wear them in our houses even when no one was watching, when they weren't forcing us to. Is this better? You guys can hear? Yes? Okay. So the first time, again, we see mention of it in Christian literature is with St. Justin Martyr. He talks about liturgy and the deacon holding it. We see St. Cyril, you guys know St. Cyril of Jerusalem? Maybe not. Not St. Cyril, the pillar of the faith. He has a beautiful quote that says, "Let us not then be ashamed to confess the crucified, be the cross or seal made with boldness by our fingers on our brow," brow اللي هو our foreheads. We'll talk about that, why on our brow. "And on everything, over the bread we eat and the cups we drink, in our coming in and our going out, before our sleep, when we lie down, and when we rise up. Great is the preservative, it is without price. For the sake of the poor, without toil. For the sick, since also its grace is from God. It is the sign of the faithful and the dread of devils. He triumphed over them in it, having made a show of them openly. For when they see the cross, they are reminded of the crucified. They are afraid of him who bruised the heads of the dragon. Despise not the seal because of the freeness of the gift." So he's saying, "Bishman and we have the cross openly available, and we should take it for granted. Despise not the seal because of the freeness of the..." Sorry, you guys. "Because the freeness of the gift, but for this rather honor your benefactor." Benefactor is the person who gave it to us, which is Christ. Aywa above the Habib. Were you raising your hand? No, okay. So, do you guys understand what Saint Cyril of Jerusalem is saying? Do you guys understand what he said? We should use it in everything, and then he goes on to explain why we should use it in everything and why we shouldn't take it for granted. He says the demons are terrified of it and the devils tremble at it. Why do they tremble? It's kind of like what we talked about. It's a weapon. It's a symbol of the victory we have. Imagine, as I said, Satan thought Christ wasn't the Son of God. He said, "Oh no, how can he be this weak?" He would have delivered himself. So he said, "Okay, he's a normal human being and it means nothing to us. خلاص خلصنا منه. Christ is still going to come." What happened? He died, and he was crucified on the cross. A few hours later, يلاقيه عنده in Hades, and he's conquering Hades and he's releasing the captives, and it's بقت حفلة. It's a huge victory. That being said, if we have two people at war, two camps at war, and one of them, one person has to win, right? The victor, once they win, make a flag. They make a flag or some kind of symbol of the victory. If the other team or the other country wants to go to war with them, don't you think they'll think twice before they go to war if you just show them, "This is the flag I made. Okay? This is resembling my victory." Don't you think the other nation will think twice if I say, "Look, remember? Remember that victory we had?" Right? So I'm saying, if that nation goes to war or wants to go to war with the victors, don't you think they'll think twice before going to war when they show them that flag, say, "Remember this flag that we made when we won?" And it's not just any victory, it was a landslide. That's why we say in liturgy, you see Abuna crossing himself and going like this, bowing. He descended into Hades through the cross. By that weapon, by that symbol, that was the vehicle that attained for us salvation. That gave him, I don't want to say access, but that gave him entry into Hades and helped him give us salvation and release the captives. So that being said, when they see that symbol, that flag, that's why Saint Cyril of Jerusalem is saying they tremble. They see it and they say, "Oh, لا, خلاص, ده تبعه. We're not going to mess with him." Does that make sense? معايا? Okay. إيه أبون? You're dismissed when your class starts. You want to hear the rest? We're almost done. So, that being said, you guys, we see that the cross is powerful. We see that it gave us salvation. But sometimes we feel like these are abstract concepts. Right? Like, okay, this happened a while ago. أنا ماليش دعوة باللي حصل ده. It's a historical fact. I don't know if it even happened. Right? We have our doubts sometimes. We want concrete evidence. You guys want stories of concrete evidence? بس تركزوا تصحصحوا كده. Who wants it? Yes or no? Who wants stories of concrete evidence of miracles that happened through the cross? Yes? I want to hear it. Yes or no? I want to hear it louder. Yes? Okay. You guys, as I'm saying, one of these many stories, a friend of mine was in his car, he was getting food on the way. Kevin, how are you, Habib? Getting food on the way home. He stops at the drive-thru, sees in the restaurant a woman a homeless woman, being attacked by, I guess, someone who was her ex. He was an abusive boyfriend. Okay, and apparently she was on drugs, or she had some kind of spirit. You'll see why. So she's going crazy, and she's بترفص وعمالة تزعق وتشتم وعاملة هيصة. The minute he did the sign of the cross from inside his car, again, the woman's outside, دي في حتة وهو في حتة. And this is a real story. It's not written in a book. I was a first-hand witness from my friend with this. The minute he did the sign of the cross, she stopped. The same thing happened with someone else I know, someone I know very well, and it happened in front of me. He was praying by his window, sitting by his window at night praying. Okay, he sees a homeless man doing the same exact thing. Doing the same thing. You guys know the homeless men have schizophrenia a lot of times. So they see things that aren't there. They hear things that aren't there. Make sense? So he thinks people are attacking him. He goes crazy. Again, he cusses and screams and kicks and goes all over the place. And this person can see him from his house across the bridge at night because there's lampposts. But طبعا, being in the house, in the dark, do you think the homeless man can see this person? No way. This person did the sign of the cross. The idea will come to it of stamping someone with a cross. This person did the sign of the cross. I promise you guys, this guy out of nowhere, he looks to the window. Right? I love the expressions you guys have. Like, oh, إلا أحلى من كده. And he went back and did it again. A few minutes passed, and he went back and did the same thing again. So this person did the sign of the cross. ما احنا مش هنزهق. ما ورناش حاجة غيره. He did the sign of the cross again. Guess what happened? طب أنت إيه اللي لفت نظرك? Sorry guys for that. What brought your attention? How did you know someone was doing the sign of the cross? ما فيش نور. الأوضة you have to cut off. تعال. الأوضة مغمضة مظلمة He can't see. He's fighting. He didn't realize there's anyone there. What brought him to look? And this happened a third time. What brought him to stop fighting and look? And we have it. I wanted to talk to you guys about this too. It's very simple. We have it in our hands. It's not something we need to buy or something we need to go out and save up for. The simplest symbol we can imagine. We see sometimes in iconography, it's done like this, right? Or Abuna blesses like this. We see a cross, right? Or we do this when we do a matanya. Very simple. We have it on our neck, but with that power, we stop all kinds of things. A third story, really quick, and we'll wrap up soon because we need to. It's almost time. Another story, you guys, is I had a second friend who was in Bardu, a place where it wasn't the best area. He happened to be there. I don't remember exactly why. And there's a liquor store there. The person who owned the liquor store was Coptic. So they knew this guy, my friend, who was also Coptic taban. So they asked him, can you come pray for us in the store? We feel like there's evil spirits. We feel like there's evil spirits in the store. It's a liquor store, it's in a bad area. It's kind of understandable, right? So what do you guys think he did? لا أنا ماليش دعوة, it's a liquor store. I have nothing to do with it. إيه ألفون؟ بسامة. No, he wasn't robbed. It was spirits. It wasn't someone robbing it. I was him. Went in, even though it's a liquor store. It's not a church or his house. He went in and prayed. He prayed a very quick prayer from the Akbeya. Did the sign of the cross throughout the prayer, which we'll come to, how we should use that. He tells me, you guys, And again, this is someone that's older in age. بشحيل مثلا ولا واحد he's hallucinating. He goes, me and the people in the store saw black energy, black matter كده, as we see in movies, rushing out the door. Can you believe that? They literally all four of them saw it. Him, his wife, his kid, and my friend. Saw the spirits rushing, escaping from the door. We have a very, very powerful, very profound weapon in our hands, literally at the touch of a finger to another. When do we use this? Very quickly, you guys, help me so we can wrap up. When do we use the cross? This powerful weapon. Now we know what it is. We know where we see it in the Bible. We know what it means to us. When do we use it? I will say 2 minutes. Harder. And I did it. Harder. Harder. Sorry, I got 2 minutes. We use it over our food whenever we eat anything, drink anything, when we go in our car, when we have a test. I above بسرعة. أنا أدرب دلوقتي. إيه ده؟ سامع 24/7. Good answer. 24/7. When we get in our car, as we said, over, you guys I'm sure have scantrons. You take, and even if not now with Zoom, take tests and you have a scantron, you have a paper returning in. It's a very powerful thing to do, especially when you haven't studied. Over tests, when you have an important meeting with someone. There's many stories I can go over later of this. A person doing it behind the desk of someone very important. They need something, a high official. طبعا not in front of them, behind the desk. And it changes things 100%. Before we take any decision, especially important decisions, before we get into a conversation that can change things, we should do it as we're coming. We know this, but we don't do it. As we're coming into church, what do? We do the sign of the cross, right? We bow our heads. When we're leaving church, we leave, so we with our back, do the sign of the cross, coming in and leaving. When we're partaking in any of the sacraments, not just communion, when we're partaking of the sacraments, we're supposed to do the sign of the cross. It's a blessing that we're receiving through and because of the cross. Whenever we pray, we use it. We know of Saint Justina, the story of Saint Justina and Saint Kerollos, who was quickly, the wizard. He tried to send demons to hurt her. They found her praying and doing the sign of the cross. They couldn't come near her. I just want to let you guys know we have concrete examples of all of this. When do we do it in our prayer? Quickly, whenever, as Wafdi said, but especially when we read the words in O'osht. We worship, right? We bow down with the cross. Kerollos, when we end a psalm, begin our prayer, all throughout. As we said, when we do our matanyas, the matanya is a powerful weapon we'll talk about too. We're submitting our faculties to Christ. And when we're doing a matanya, why do we put our head all the way to the ground? غاويين تراب مثلا بنشرب تراب ولا إيه الفكرة فيها؟ We're putting our brain, our thoughts, our heart down to the ground, saying, I'm nothing, I don't know how to use these, I sin with them. I'm making them yours, take them and bless them. But what do we, and طبعا amatanya means we're repenting for something we did. So forgive me, I've fallen, but what do I do when I come back up? That tishmat, do not cling, rejoice over me, my enemy. Even though I have fallen, I will rise again. What do I do when I rise up? The sign of victory, the cross. When I come up from the matanya. When we go to sleep, you guys, this is very important, especially in this age. Right now, how? We're basically done. We're done. You guys understand? When we're praying, before we go to sleep, I was about to say that, over our hearts and minds, protects us from a lot of things. And we should sign it on our loved ones, on our parents, doesn't have to be in front of them, on our friends, on our family, as you guys heard with the stories of stamping those people and how much it did for them. خلاص احنا خلصنا عشان هناخد كلام بره دلوقتي خلاص. Any questions بسرعة? No questions? Okay. Can we take them? We don't have questions on Zoom. The memory verse, you guys بسرعة, I'll send it on the group very quickly. For the message of the cross is foolishness, boys, to those who are perishing, but to those who are being saved, it is the power of God. 1 Corinthians 1:18. I'll send it on the group and we'll try to memorize that together. خلاص?
Be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespass. Forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one through Christ Jesus our Lord, for thine kingdom. Can we go out from this door, please? Thank you.